Alright, what's up everybody? Welcome back. This is the second half of the worst dictators of all time. If you haven't checked out the first part, I'm going to make sure that I link that below. And other than that, I just dropped the first half of the last tier in the Ancient Mysteries iceberg. So if you haven't checked that out, I'm going to just link the whole playlist below. And yeah, other than that, we get right into it. Make sure you like, subscribe, all that YouTube stuff, and let's just get into it. Up first is Leopold II. Leopold II was the second king of the Belgians and served on the throne from 1865 to 1909. Born in Brussels to Leopold I and Louis of Orleans, Leopold II ascended to the throne at the age of 30, ruling over his kingdom for 44 years, which made him the longest running monarch in all of Belgian history. Basically, after taking control of Belgium, Leopold sought to keep pace with the other European nations and their imperialistic ambitions by taking control and establishing the Congo Free State, which is now in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Claiming approximately 770,000 square miles of territory for himself, Leopold hoped establishing a colony there would boost Belgium's prestige and wealth on the world stage, all in the name of humanitarianism and supposed philanthropy. However, the venture soon became a brutal and exploitative process as Leopold II unleashed some of the cruelest and most inhumane practices against the Congolese people recorded in human history. By the time of his death in 1909, his impact on the Congo was both catastrophic and heartbreaking given the sheer amount of damage and pain he had inflicted on these people. After seizing control of the Congo, Leopold exploited the labor of the Congolese people to obtain their region's vast natural resources such as ivory and rubber. And to maintain strict discipline amongst the people, he authorized his administrators and army officials to use extreme violence against the people, including beatings, the amputations of hands and feet, torture, and just outright murder. In other cases, Leopold personally allowed for the burning of entire villages and the kidnapping of children to use in child labor camps, where approximately half of them died in captivity. So 1 in every 2, one of them was dying basically in this captivity. In total, it is currently estimated that Leopold is responsible for the deaths of over 10 million people in the Congo. When combined with his brutal policies, he was truly one of the worst dictators in all of human history. Okay, so up next, somebody I'm sure everybody's heard of at this point, Adolf Hitler. Now, the infamous Adolf Hitler was an Austrian-born dictator who ruled Nazi Germany between 1933 and 1945. First coming to power in the 1920s during the interwar period, Hitler used the embarrassing German defeat in the First World War to galvanize the population to a heated and vengeful frenzy. Promoting pan-Germanism, anti-Semitism, and anti-communism through both propaganda and his skills as a charismatic orator, Hitler quickly assumed control of the German nation with popular support, becoming the Chancellor in 1933 and the Führer by 1934. So it only took those dudes 1 year to gain complete control at this point. Immediately setting to work on a rearmament program and aggressive foreign policy plan, Hitler's action eventually led to the outbreak of the Second World War, resulting in the worst global conflict in all of human history. By the time of his death in 1945, Hitler's radically motivated ideology and disdain for non-Aryan individuals had left much of Europe's social, economic, and political structures in total ruin. Adolf Hitler was an incredibly ruthless and brutal dictator that embodied the true definition of evil. Maintaining the idea that Jews and other ethnic groups were inferior to the German people, Hitler unleashed numerous policies that aimed to rid Europe of those he deemed undesirable. Basically, if he didn't like you, you were gone. In both the Holocaust and his seeking of Lebensraum, or living space, in Eastern Europe, it is currently estimated that Adolf Hitler was responsible for over 19.3 million deaths across the European continent during his reign of terror. To achieve these numbers, Hitler utilized mass shootings, gas chambers, labor or death camps, whatever you want to call it, death marches, and outright starvation to eliminate entire groups of people. Individuals were also routinely beaten, humiliated, and dehumanized in every conceivable way. When taken together, it is easy to see why Adolf Hitler was one of the evilest and cruelest dictators the world has ever known, and we'll probably continue to learn about this guy for the rest of the time humanity is around, so we don't repeat this stuff. Up next is Joseph Stalin. Now, Joseph Stalin was a Georgian revolutionary that served as the General Secretary of the Soviet Union between 1924 and 1953. Coming from a poor family in the city of Gori or Jori, Stalin's communist leanings eventually led him to join the Marxist Russian Social Democratic Labor Party, where he was first introduced to Vladimir Lenin. After becoming a full-fledged member of the Bolsheviks, Stalin played a key role in seizing power from Tsar Nicholas II and helped Lenin establish a one-party state in 1917. Serving in the Russian Civil War that followed, Stalin's actions and supposed loyalty earned him numerous promotions, which helped him consolidate a great deal of power in the years that followed. In the aftermath of Lenin's death in 1924, Stalin quickly assumed control of the Soviet Union and rapidly introduced many social, economic, and political policies to strengthen and stabilize his newfound position. Relying heavily on his cult of personality, Stalin became a widely popular leader to the Soviet citizens despite his initiation of mass repression, ethnic cleansing, deportations, purges, and mass killings. As with all the figures on this list, Joseph Stalin was just basically an incredibly evil dude and total all-around scumbag. Throughout his totalitarian regime and the thousands of Soviet cadres loyal to him, Stalin implemented a series of repressive measures that aimed to purge Soviet society of dissidents, political rats, and potential enemies of the state. Millions of individuals faced deportation to the Gulag under Stalin. If you ever played Warzone, you already know why that's trash. Whereas countless others were imprisoned, questioned, tortured, and executed for any signs of disloyalty. Stalin was also instrumental in the purging of his own military officers and the man-made famine that spread across the Ukraine from 1932 to 1933. Now, although it is incredibly difficult to determine with accuracy the number of individuals killed during Stalin's reign, scholars currently estimate that approximately 40 million people may have died as a result of his social, political, economic, and military policies. So altogether, approximately over 40 million. However, the true number will never be fully realized as the Soviet state undertook extreme measures to ensure the documents alluding to their crimes were destroyed, including the silencing of individuals when necessary. Despite this, these figures clearly demonstrate that Joseph Stalin was one of the most brutal and ruthless dictators in all of human history. But that's all I got for Joseph Stalin. We're moving on to the next one. Trust me, we got two big scumbags for the last one. Up next, Genghis Khan. Now, the infamous Genghis Khan was the founder and great Khan of the Mongol Empire between 1206 and 1227. Genghis first came to power in the early 13th century after uniting the nomadic tribes in Northeast Asia and being declared the universal ruler of all of Mongols. Soon after his ascension to power, Genghis Khan initiated the Mongol invasions into Asia and later Europe, conquering the vast majority of Eurasia and parts of northeastern Africa. Basically, he was taking over everything he could get his hands on. He was just spreading out all over the place. By the time of his death in August 1227, Genghis Khan had managed to initiate dramatic social, economic, and political changes throughout his conquered territories, which has spanned over 23 million square kilometers in terms of size. Coupled with the unprecedented level of death and destruction that his horseback warriors unleashed, Genghis Khan solidified his reputation as one of the greatest conquerors in history while simultaneously being recognized as one of the world's most brutal leaders. Despite his leadership capabilities and upbringing as a warrior, Genghis Khan was an incredibly vicious and ferocious leader, renowned for his cruelty and barbarism on the world stage. Now, during his conquest, millions of innocent civilians were killed after battles to avenge fallen warriors. So basically, even if you weren't even in the battle, you were getting killed to avenge his fallen boys. Likewise, they were known to lay siege to cities, especially in China.
God damn it, how come every time us Chinese put up a wall, stupid Mongolians have to come and knock it down?
Operating under a strategy known as total war, Genghis Khan believed that the mass extermination and that the profound use of terror were the only ways to ensure obedience from the conquered individuals. As such, it is estimated that Genghis Khan was responsible for 40 to 60 million deaths during his reign of terror, resulting in an 11% decrease of the entire world's population. He wiped off 11% of the entire population.
Hey, fuck you, Mongolian!
When combined with his utter disdain for human life and intolerance for any form of resistance, whether real or imagined, Genghis Khan was truly one of the most brutal leaders of all time. Okay, and so finishing off our list with the top scumbags, top worst dictators, whatever you want to call them, Mao Zedong. Now, Mao was a Chinese communist revolutionary who served as the founder of the People's Republic of China, or PRC, acting as its chairman from 1949 until 1976. Subscribing to a political ideology turned Maoism, which was heavily influenced by Marxist-Leninist thoughts, Mao emerged from the Chinese Civil War and Second World War in a position of total power, establishing a single-party state in the years that followed. In his quest to transform the Chinese economy from an agrarian to an industrial one, which is a key component to any communist society, Mao launched his Great Leap Forward, socialist education movement, and cultural revolution campaigns to rapidly secure power and stability for his newfound position. Although he was later praised by a number of individuals and groups for leading China to its position as a dominant world power, his repressive actions proved devastating in terms of both human death and persecution. Mao Zedong was an exceptionally ruthless figure that stopped at nothing to achieve his personal goals. After implementing his transformation policies in China, Mao and his people quickly set to work on suppressing opposition, silencing dissidents, as well as torturing and executing anyone that got in their way. Hell-bent on achieving a communist state within only a few years, Mao also implemented a number of excessive grain collection policies that left the Chinese people with nothing to eat. With millions of individuals forcibly placed into people's communes, which were basically just labor camps, Mao's poor planning and disregard for human life proved devastating. In total, it is currently estimated that Mao Zedong and his government officials were responsible for approximately 55 to 70 million deaths during his time of power. However, historians are quick to note that these numbers may reach as high as 80 million when you take into account the deaths from malnourishment and famine-related diseases in the years that followed the Great Leap Forward. All of this, combined with his silencing of political opponents and widespread executions of innocent civilians, one thing is clear, that Mao Zedong was basically one of the biggest scumbags to ever live, at least that we have seen so far. I'm not going to say we'll never see anybody again, because listen, there's a few more runner-ups I could have done for this video, but anyways, that's all for now. I might end up doing a part 3 with just honorable mentions or whatever, but yeah, if you watched, appreciate you. Make sure you like, subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend, and yeah, make sure you stay dangerous and getting laid. That's it. I'll catch y'all later.